I think, of course, over the next couple of weeks, I'll put this together, Google Docs, and try to do it formally, and I can send it out to you all for comment. I think tonight, if you have any particular questions you want asked, that'll be a good time to provide them, or if you think of them later, that's fine too. But, is there anything on top of the 12 that you already gave me? That'll be helpful.
I'll defer to anyone else in the meeting to add or take away from the questions.
So
I'm looking through the questions. Oh, sorry. You can go, Steve.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm not sure if it's something we can ask, but just thinking of those with non-full abilities, like, is there a way that we can inquire about those that might need additional amenities? I don't know how to exactly say that, but is that something that we can ask in an appropriate manner?
So in one of the questions, I'm trying to find which question it was. I had added it to what Shrewsbury had given us just to give them a voice. And I'm just trying to see. Okay, so it was question number 4, asking Auburn residents to rate overall satisfaction with the following. And those items that have been highlighted are those which I changed or added into whatever survey Shrewsbury had provided. So at the very end, actually no, the 1, 2, 3, 4th one in and third for seniors. I don't know if that's enough to get more information, but at least we'd have some sort of understanding as to whether or not someone is very unsatisfied, very satisfied with what is available.
So I guess my question was more around understanding the quantities or the amount of need for those, whereas we ask for other conditions, you know, age and household members and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Steve, that we want to go down that road per se, because frankly, if we do any kind of, let's say hiking trails or anything to that effect, I think with the ADA review that was just done, I think that would be done in mind with being ADA compliant regardless. I don't think if we saw a little need or a lot of need, that would change how that project would be done.
Okay.
Yeah, any new construction is supposed to be meet all the ADA requirements. There are occasions when they may not, but for the most part, they'll be ADA compliant.
So shall we keep the language included in question number 4? Does that make sense? Is it?
Yeah, 4 was, yeah, definitely.
Okay, okay. One thing that I had added to 4, and it was the very last item, to me as an Auburn resident, the walkable spaces, footpaths that we've been talking about with the Drury Square renovations, I think will come up as a source of contention. I know it's not considered open space, but as long as people are thinking walkability, accessibility, ramps, sidewalks, the conditions of sidewalks, which was very much the case in the Shrewsbury language, I think it was important to add something about walkable spaces, footpaths. I don't know if that belongs in this survey or if that belongs elsewhere.
It can be in the survey. I think that's applicable. I will add that the town did recently have a complete street study done. It went through with CMRPC all the sidewalks and ramps, and it kind of highlighted the condition of all of them and which crosswalks were not ADA compliant, shouldn't have the ramps or the yellow plate. So
Okay.
we can leave it in, but we do have a lot of information currently. That was just last year.
Thank you.
Well,
What about a question asking for people's input on what they'd like to see as far as open spaces? Is that in there? I didn't really see anything specific to that.
For particular spots that they had in mind.
Yeah, just what they'd like to see.
But that's a good question. Yeah. So do you mean particular areas like at the Pappas Recreation Complex or Prospect Street or elsewhere? Give examples.
Yeah, if they want more hiking, if they want more fields, or
Yeah.
that type of thing.
The questions that I had highlighted were tied to the activity as opposed to the space. So would they rather, or, highlight which ones are most important? Was it for hiking? Was it for biking? Was it for, let's see, which number was that?
Like number 5.
Was it number 5?
Well, that's how often do you use certain items or certain fields?
I thought I had a chart. Now I'm not seeing it. Oh, I know why. Yeah, I had sent along a separate actionable objectives box as an attachment to Adam. I think he sent that out as a last attachment last week. And I took from some of the very specific itemized objectives that were given to us and tried to change the language, eliminating anything that was more theoretical so that we could maybe provide this information to the public and have them highlight which things are most important to them. Is it goal 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? Or if we could somehow squeeze this into one of the questions as a reference point and say, see chart 1, or I don't know how complicated we can make this, but does everyone have access to that actionable objectives?
Yes.
I've got it up on the screen if anybody's looking at the screen.
Yes.
So I think that speaks to your question, Scott, if we could include something about that. Bless you.
Thank you. I don't recall exactly what the capabilities of Google Docs is, but you can try to make it work. I know
Okay.
there are a bunch of options of creating tables and stuff on that program.
I'd imagine goal 2 is the most important because given the information that was received, we've already collected a lot of information about town interests, town wants, what people were expecting. We have information about the golf course. We have information. We have goal 2 really highlights everything that you've given to us as far as what people have asked in the past. Hiking opportunities, biking opportunities, swimming opportunities. Something was written in the past about having a cultural or community center, a bonfire space. I don't know if there was more discussion on that, Adam.
That doesn't sound familiar, but I'll write it down to make note. It
was in one of the iterations of the Auburn plan, and I'm not sure. Let's see. Okay. It was objective number 4 in goal 4. Objective number 5 in goal 4 in one of the iterations. Let's see, page 49 to 52 of the Auburn plan. I thought that was interesting. I'd never heard of any discussion for bonfire space or community center, but I like the idea.
Yeah. No, that I can't say I noticed it. It hasn't come up since I've been here,
Okay.
but that's not, it's an interesting idea.
And then something that, I've been discussing with people who own property over on the Rotary Beach property, that lake over there. What is that, Dark Dark Brook? No, that's not Dark Brook. What is that?
That's Stoneville?
Is that Stoneville?
I think so, might be. Parcel.
It's swimmable. In any case, I know the property owners aren't very fond of the idea of having a swim beach. So we were passing around ideas, and I said, how about something as passive as like a nature center, where at least kids can go visit and look at, what was found in the wetlands in the space. And then there was discussion around that idea, and I hadn't seen that in any of the documentation, but the Mass Audubon Society, I guess, has been pretty active working with the town, showing interest in doing something. And I think a nature center is an opportunity. So I included it in the lane. I did not include it in the one that I emailed, but I had noted it in that same actionable item in goal 2, develop additional recreation, cultural opportunities, a community center, bonfire space, or nature center. I don't know.
To the people you talked to, they give you any reasons why they didn't want Rowwood Beach open up again? It was a hot place.
Noise pollution. Noise pollution.
What?
Noise pollution.
From people swimming?
Yeah. And
Really?
traffic. Yeah, and traffic coming to it. They're concerned, even though it didn't jive, as far as I know from what I've read. I think it was actually a property owner that was originally dumping into the water source, and that's why it was originally closed. It wasn't the public, but that was all I could gather from the Telegram and Gazette, from what was it back in, I may have provided a link. So they said that they were also concerned about people coming from Worcester and there being too much riffraff. I don't think it was really realistic, the concerns. And then the question came up for parking and infrastructure, but I think as far as I know, there is land that is town owned across the way. I tried looking at the maps. I'm not really that great at addressing the maps, but I think it would be feasible to have parking.
Yes, there is parking. There was parking across the street.
Yeah, right,
It was a hopping place in the 60s and 70s.
right. It was just one family, and for some time, I was interested in just getting people's ideas on Rotary Beach as an Auburn resident, and I would love to see something like that. And all I could hear was very positive notes, apart from that one conversation with the property owners.
I love the idea. My only question, and this has come up before, is funding on that project. But if we could find it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it always comes down to funding.
It'd be cheaper than a pool, I would imagine.
A lot cheaper.
Then there was one item that was addressed in the past, coming from the public opinion, that we should expand upon or add holes and dining options to the Packagug golf course. I don't know if that's been done. I'm out of the loop. Adam, do you know anything about that?
Not that I'm aware of. I can't say I've been to any sporting events aside from up there. Not living in town, it's not an area. Yeah, I haven't had any to attend sporting events. I'm not sure if there's a concession stand up there or not. I don't believe so.
Yeah, there is a small concession stand. I know they had rehabbed it a couple of years ago with the thoughts of having, a little bit more food. But right now, I think it's just hot dogs, and soft drinks.
Mm-hmm. Have they added
There's
holes?
There's a new deck. No, same 9 holes. They've done a great job. They've, revamped the entire course, but no additional holes added.
Oh, the golf course, yeah. I was thinking at the Pappas complex.
There's
There
land
is a-
behind the golf course that is town owned, and is that the one that we just recently purchased? That I think all of you were talking about it, and I had to look on a map. It's this oh, I don't know. It's behind the golf course.
Also,
Yeah, that's the road.
Yeah.
What's the plan for that space? Is that I know it's passive only.
currently, there is no formal plan. There is that 10-year passive requirement limitation. I'm not, was it 4 years in, 3 years in? It's been at least 3 years in. Personally, I think expanding the walking trail would be nice, going from where the trail at the Pappas complex going down by the diversion channel down there.
Mhm.
Certainly gets
One-
confusing going in the backyards of some of those neighbors.
Yeah.
There are some houses down there they're cut, but there is a lot of town-owned land.
Hmm.
I think there's
One
about,
thing that we looked at, maybe a golf,
Frisbee golf?
Frisbee, golf course like down there.
I've heard multiple people talk about that, yeah, as a potential use, and I think that will be considered passive. It wouldn't be, I guess it's considered passive, maybe because you're not really, leveling trees and leveling stuff for, yields. It's kind of within the woods there, as the nature, as the land lies. There's no set plans at the moment. It's funding is a part of it, but I think that's certainly a good possibility. This golf course, it's popular, keeps becoming more and more popular.
And it'll get more popular because Clearview just closed in Millbury, so we'll get some of those golfers as well.
Yeah,
Have we addressed the football fields problem? That was something else noted in the past about adding football fields. Is that addressed by the addition of the new middle school? I know there was a half field added, but I don't know if that addresses their concerns. Potential adherence to a rotation policy. I don't know what that really means. If we've taken care of that action item or not.
yeah, I really don't know on that one. Can find out about that.
Let's see.
The high school, I assume, plays at the high school. I don't know if
Right.
there's the younger leagues where they play.
I think the younger leagues play at both fields, if I'm right. That there are some games scheduled at middle school and some at the high school.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay. As far as the survey goes, adding the language from the actionable objectives may be possible, even if we change up the format of this, Adam. But I think Scott was right to include ideas for the public to know what they want to do as far as where they want to do it. And I think that can be accomplished if they look at something comparable to this chart, if they want to address more so the conservation of certain properties or expand upon recreational opportunities. I think getting that information from the public would be helpful. I don't know if there's any comment from others.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of open-endedness. If it's going to provide more results for us or more information. I know typically with a survey, whoever has to analyze the data it's nice if you can check a box and be able to aggregate that, but at least a couple open-ended questions to provide that feedback would be helpful.
Mhm. Adam, who does analyze the results?
Me.
Oh, okay.
When I did the master plan survey, there were most of the questions had a comment box underneath the question. You had the multiple choice or however it was set up and you had comments. So I got a lot of comments that way also. And most of the questions, you probably have something like that. Just people, if we don't touch upon something, they can have the chance to include it.
I like that. Not fun for you to tabulate, but it's good. Done that. One thing that I wanted to ask all of you, because you're much more aware, having been long-term Auburn residents, or you're the town planner, Adam, what we have actually accomplished. I had a list of things that were already written out, but I know we've already started a dog park. We closed the Mary Stone School and Julia Bancroft School, built a new middle school, just to include language to show how much Auburn has really accomplished thus far, as part and parcel with the survey itself, to show people that, you know, things are getting done and we are taking people's considerations seriously. I don't know if there's a list that you've already completed, Adam, or if you can add to what I've done. I know it's incomplete as of now.
I haven't begun that particular task of analyzing those goals. That's something I want to do in the near term. I think what I'd like to do, I did this in a previous position with CMRPC with doing the hazard mitigation plans. One of the requirements FEMA had was to compare what was done in the past and what's going to be done. So it was just like a big chart that kind of analyzes what we're doing. Are we going to continue to carry on that goal, even though it wasn't accomplished, and carry it forward, or we're actively working towards it, or if it's kind of an ongoing objectives? Can set up some kind of spreadsheet that way.
Yeah, that was actually a really helpful attachment that you sent along with the goals and objectives written out, as far as where the funding source, what the funding source was, in what year out of the 7-year plan it was planned to be completed. I don't know if everyone else had an opportunity to look at that, but that was really helpful to get more information, to see, you know, what we've done and what has yet to be done, and if we were on target with the timeline. It looks like a lot has actually been done or addressed.
Yeah, it does seem like a lot was done. There's always a lot more to do.
Yeah. So back to the survey item. Does anyone else have a question that would he or she would it's only men, sorry, that you would like to see be added, or a question that you would like to revise or take away from the 12 that were provided?
No, like I said, I think I'm going to present this to the Conservation Committee this Wednesday and get some feedback from them and see if there's something specific that that committee wants to address. And so I might have something more later in the week.
That's great.
All right, I'll try to put something together in the next week or two to get out here. And if you seeing it in different format may jog your thoughts as to adding some more questions. I'll try to put some together, about 20 of them.
May I ask your opinion, anyone, about question number 3, as to what people would be willing to do in order to make changes or address unmet needs in Auburn? The language comes from the Shrewsbury example, and I don't know if this is specific enough what has been provided, or if we want to get more specific or take something away about tax increases. Can you even discuss money on a survey or taxes? Is that something that we can insert? Because I think people would want to know how much of a cost to them it would be to accomplish some of these unmet needs, to address these unmet needs. Can we talk money or not?
I think we can.
Yep, so I think I asked in the earlier meeting, just, I think we should work on the plan and then talk about funding resources, because there is matched money and such, and then anything that would require a substantial amount would probably go to town vote. So I'd hate to have
Okay.
people's minds go right to the money and then start answering in the no, everything's fine, realm, because now they're thinking my taxes are going to go up.
Yeah, right. I wonder if that's something that they would assume in the first place. That's my concern. I know some people who are vocal at the town meetings might be concerned about funding.
So maybe we address that in the beginning of the survey and say, if funding wasn't an issue, which
Yeah.
items we want to look at.
I like that. That's a great idea. Funding wasn't an issue.
And I think we'll see some of those things that haven't progressed as far from the original plan are due to funding. And again, prioritization from what has come back, and the members of the town have decided what they want to pursue further.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what's viable and then see what, where the home run swings would be. And I mean, I don't want to put our top priorities to be all the far-fetched ones that we know are going to be tough funding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was at Hadwin Park the other day and I saw there was a sign that funding improvements to the facility was provided by Land and Water Conservation Fund. Do we have any affiliation with this fund? It says it was a group with Worcester, the Land and Water Conservation Fund. It sounded like it would be very fitting for Auburn, but I've never heard of it before.
I haven't heard of it before either. I know Conservation Commissioner Nathan, you can probably speak on this, I think has a fund, but I don't know how robust it is, and I think they're kind of limited by what they can use it for.
Yeah, there are some limits on it, and that is not the name of it, so that is something different altogether, I believe. But yeah, we've reviewed that budget and trying to, either update some of the space that we do have and make it, potentially walking area or a learning area for children. So that may be something that, our question coming back is maybe we can look at using one of the areas that we already have for something like that.
Yeah, because they added ramps that overlook a wetland. I mean, it's beautiful what they've done. It's handicap accessible. They improved their playground. It's absolutely gorgeous. But I don't. Yeah, if you have any affiliation or know of the Land and Water Conservation Fund, I didn't know if it was something to look into. But that's a later piece. That's not even a concern right now. What was the next item on the agenda, Adam? We have addressed goals, objectives, 7-year action plan for the most part.
Let's see.
Did you?
Let's see, review open space survey, review 2014 open space plan goals, objectives, and 7-year action plan, and then identify priority preservation areas.
I know I had put together a little list, but I don't know how complete it is from the information you had originally given to us. There were 2 line items from the Central Mass, the CMRPC, the
Yes.
Central 13 Prioritization Project. You guys had located Prospect Hill, Rellington Brook Trail connection, and the Leicester Street property. But I don't know if that's a complete list or if there's more to it. There were assessments of habitats as well with the biomapping. That was kind of helpful and interesting to look at. But
Prospect.
I know there's the old landfill is what's off of Leicester Street. I don't think there's any particular plan for Waterside at this point.
Mhm.
Just that as is, you're kind of limited to what you can do with something like that because of its old use. There's what is it? Off of Route 20.
The
Behind.
Granger Cliffs,
Yes.
is that what it's called?
Yep. That's I forget how many acres. It's 40 or 50 acres. I want to say, if I remember correctly, and that's all town-owned land. From what I understand, it's pretty steep up there, so developing it will be a challenge, which I think is why it
Mhm.
was the town has it.
Hmm.
I think it was gifted to the town. I could be
Oh.
mistaken on that.
It's a weird area. Is it on the Oxford? It's on the Oxford line?
It's not far from the Oxford line.
Is it?
Well,
Not?
it's towards that end of town.
Okay. Huh.
It's behind BJ's and Home Depot.
Okay.
So what are we trying to prioritize here? Like land we don't want to be touched, lands we want to acquire, lands we want for specific uses?
Mhm.
What's prioritization mean on this?
On the actual, I took from the language of the actual documents that were given. So prioritization, I would imagine we have to figure out how we want to use the land passively or actively, or if we want to conserve it as part of the conservation efforts that were listed in the goals and objectives. So maybe we could have an ABC: conservation, passive or active. I don't think that language would be very helpful to the public. However, I think we just need to be clear about that, having an understanding of what has been eliminated as non-active lands. I know the biomapping and assessments that have been performed, the soils weren't the right conditions and they were too close to certain properties to have active developments. And I'm sure, Adam, you can speak to that a little bit more as far as parking requirements, traffic concerns. I know certain areas are dead no's for active developments, but passive opportunities, if we give a different designation, that might be helpful as opposed to active, and then maybe one for conservation. Does that make sense, Steve? Or
Yep,
anyone?
that works.
If you sent it, I apologize. Do we have a list of all the areas we're talking about?
I have.
So
I have a list.
there was some list, and that's why I was asking, like, because I know we talk about potential land to acquire as well, and I didn't know if we're supposed to identify that.
And I don't know what we have acquired and what we haven't, apart from Southold Road. Did we purchase anything on Prospect? Or did we already own that?
Nothing on Prospect. The Granger Cliffs ledge there is kind of off Prospect. I don't know when the town. All I can tell you. Town took possession of at least the parcel of it in 2001.
Okay.
This was taken apparently by eminent domain.
And there was a Telegram and Gazette article about that, actually, and the Greater Worcester Land Trust president or someone in charge already started mapping out trails over there and was really hoping to work with Auburn. I don't know if he's gotten back in touch or not, but I thought that was helpful to know that he'd already mapped out some trails over there.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to him. I did see that article while back. I know they had been doing something, I think, with ACTVAuburn also, but nothing, as far as I know, nothing formal, nothing constructed. You know, I don't know what the slope is like that, but what I've heard is just that it's very steep back there, so any like commercial or residential development would be challenging.
Where do you access that from?
There is, at the assessors map, so this is what I play with. There's a, looks like a, paper street, maybe, off of Oxford Street South that leads back there.
That's definitely
Uh,
paper. I haven't been back there in about a year or so, but I don't know of any road back there.
There's no road. There's an access from Route 20, and there's an access from Oxford Street north, south. That's part of the, I don't know if you look at this on your screen.
There's access to on the north side there, yeah, but yeah, okay.
So you can, there is access back there, just, there's no road. I don't think there's a path. If there is a path, it's probably just an access path.
Is there a new
Okay.
water tower over there too? I just drove by there and I just realized it was a water tower. Is that new or is that just old news for me? Being new to the town. It looked brand
just,
new.
It's, yeah, they just built one. They tore down an old one and built a new one, or are building
Oh.
a new one. I think that's,
Hmm.
that may still be under construction. I'm not sure the status.
Okay, yeah, they were working on it when I went by, so I don't know if it's under construction. The list of areas, I don't know if this is helpful. Steve, since you had asked, I can give you the page numbers, but I also sent it as a very complicated agenda to Adam that he simplified for me. So if you want to resend that out, it's under the identification of priority preservation areas and assessment of habitats, line items 2 and 3. And I go through everything that the town had highlighted as being either passive or active areas. And just quoting from the resources, the Northeast, 90% of recreational resources in Auburn are located in the northeast quadrant of the town between Route 20 and Oxford Street. Despite having the highest residential density, this area has the greatest concentration of town-owned open land. So that seems to be a very key area for development, which Adam has already said. So that was already assessed as part of the biomapping and habitat mapping. Then they do other quadrants, southeast and southwest quadrants, northwestern, and there's also some reference to South Auburn around Eddy Pond and West Auburn, noting that Dark Brook Reservoir and the land to the west of it also has some land, but I don't think much because there's not much information about that. So if you want to resend that, Adam, that would be maybe helpful just to have that list, or if you want to simplify it into a list.
Yeah, I can resend it.
Or I could make an easier list.
I'll put something together.
Is it helpful to ask the public very precise areas where they would like to see development, either passive, active, or conservation? Or is that information that we would like to review in terms of public opinion, or is that something that should be left to conservation efforts?
Without getting to like specific locations, I think the general area of town that people would like to see amenities would be useful. Like I already mentioned, a lot of the fields and such are one area of town, but there's other parts of town that don't have much of anything. So that might be useful. Again, without specific locations.
So what kind of language? Near the center of town or near other
I think the quadrants work well.
Quadrants,
Yeah, that seems to me the town is really split with the highways into 4 pieces. I think that kind of makes sense to leave it that way.
Yeah. Mhm. Any further comments? I think we've addressed the identification of needs. How about the expansion of existing trails? If anyone has anything further to say about the trails, locations, or uses.
I got nothing. I'm really more relying on seeing what the survey comes back with and what the residents, I mean, especially for like needs and things like that.
Mhm.
I will say this has been in the back of my mind for a while. It's kind of a long shot to do, but I mentioned the trail from Pappas. Auburn is part of the Blackstone, the National Corridor, the National Park, and there is a bike trail to try and connect from the Worcester, the new visitor center in Worcester, all the way down to Providence. It's
Yep.
a good, it's complete. It would be nice if Auburn could connect to that somehow.
Mhm.
But the trick would be to cross, if you have it on your screen, the
146, right?
yeah, the visitor center is up off 146. I don't think you can see it on this map. Yeah, up here.
That aqueduct
Trick would
area.
be the trick would be to try to cross either 20 or 146, and you get the railroads in the river, so it will be quite the challenge. But it would be nice someday in the future to connect to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know Hopkinton did it over the Pike, right? Or was it 495? They recently completed that project, and that came out beautifully. I don't know what kind of cost that that required, but they do cross rivers and the highway, not the railroad as far as I know, but then Milford does cross the railway. So I mean, it's feasible. I don't know how.
That there's some federal funding that one town, or early town, a group is trying to get to connect a stretch of the bike paths, and it was in the millions and millions of dollars, 3 or 4 million anyways, if not more.
Mhm.
So that was just for like a very small piece of it, plus maybe a quarter mile, half a mile.
To me, I mean, making Auburn more bikeable is an extension of the Drury project. I know that's a very specific area, but all the language surrounding that conversation about making it a more accessible town, a more interesting town, I certainly think having a link to this large bike path would be really great. I think it would make Auburn a lot more valuable.
Yeah.
Should we include some language then about potential links, or is that not even really getting that into people's minds? Maybe that's a little bit too much.
I mean, I wouldn't worry about putting that in the survey or anything. I think as long as it's mentioned in the goals or objectives, or the action plan, to even just a study. Everything starts with a study. So
That's
doing
a
that,
perfect 7-year plan. I mean, if you can find the funding for that, that'd be incredible, especially going on with the Drury Square plan.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting to hear from people. I wonder if it's going to be. I bet it would be that Everyone wants biking and swimming. They want both, probably.
No taxes.
Yeah.
There was talk about linking of the open spaces. Is there any other obvious connections that we should be looking for? I mean, I haven't seen a map of everything and how we get connectedness to that.
How about the Army Corps of Engineers in Oxford there? Because we're not that far from that line, especially if we're looking at that Prospect Street property in the Granger Cliffs. I mean, just down the street, you were saying, Adam, there's the rail trail, or I know it's at least operated by the Federal Corps, the Army Corps of Engineers. I don't know if that's a potential link there.
Yeah, that's the Hodges Dam.
Yeah.
Area. So there is, if you have your map, if you have your screen up, I got my map going. There is an abandoned railroad trail that stops behind the middle school and goes into Oxford. It's behind, runs along Blaker Street, those you're familiar with, and cuts across Route 20 down by Cumberland Farms. And then it meanders down 12 down and connects eventually to the Hodge Dam area. And that abandoned railroad actually runs as far as Brimfield west. And I stopped following it after I got to Brimfield, so it might go farther west.
Yeah.
But that's a potential connecting to Oxford is certainly in the realm of possibility. That would require, again, a study.
Who performs those kinds of studies? Would that be the town of Auburn or some outside source?
It's probably beyond my capability to do it by myself. I'd probably have to apply for a grant, hire a consultant, whether it's CMRPC or some other planning consultant that has the means. A study like that would require a fair bit of mapping, some surveying, probably certainly some public outreach to talk to the abutting neighbors, as well as the owners of the abandoned trail. Part of the railroad still owns part of it, and the water district owns part of it, at least in Auburn. I don't know who owns it in Oxford. So, great. So looking for grants is probably the way to fund something like that.
So would that be more feasible for walking or for biking, or either or?
I guess it would depend on the grades, on what the condition is, on whether it's going to be paved or gravel. I think that would just depend. I think the goal would probably be both, but that may not be feasible.
Correct me if I'm wrong, is biking considered active because you'd have to pave the area? An active kind of form of recreation?
I would assume so. I couldn't say for sure, but that would make sense anyways. Whatever you're, adding impervious surface, that adds complications.
Right.
300 plus units going up on Blaker soon. So a walking area or any kind of recreation area up there sounds, I think, phenomenal.
Yeah, this would be right across the street from the entrance to that new development.
That was kind of my thought when I came across that abandoned railroad, was having that as kind of a walking trail to the middle school. As kids in that development. It's half a mile, I think. It's not that far. Certainly doable in the nice weather.
Yeah, it just goes right behind Crystal Caves and into the middle school. I walked it as a kid. I grew up on Tinker Hill.
There's a new development going in there?
Yeah, I just got last week. 2 weeks ago. 320 units.
Wow. I thought that was wetland back there. I could swear it's always, isn't it always flooded back there? It's definitely a flood zone.
It's at the end of Blaker, up on the hill.
Oh,
there is
okay.
some in the back, but they're not going to infringe on any of the conservation land or the wetlands.
Cool. Wow. All right. Yeah. Any further comments on the survey? Should we address new business, Adam, or do you have something else that you wanted to address as far as what was dispersed here?
Nothing else for the survey or anything. Like I said, I'll work on putting it in Google Docs this week, next week, and get it out to COP for review. I got a couple things for a member update, town plan update. We can get that.
Okay. Should we move to discuss new business? I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to move to new business.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Does anybody have any business then?
No new business. I like where we're headed with this. What's our timeline for the survey?
I like to have a draft for the next meeting ready for review, and if it's all set with you guys, begin the rollout by let's say February. Put it out all of February, and hope to have a decent response to discuss in the March meeting.
Adam, is there anyone that needs to review the final draft before it goes out, or is this committee the one that can send it?
This committee and me. I may have a couple of people proofread it in town hall here just to get another set of eyes, but it's this committee's jurisdiction.
Thank you.
Makes sense. Shout out to Auburn Youth Football, Auburn Youth Basketball, some of the other organizations in town to get some of their input for the survey, or kind of wait until after. And I'm just thinking even the Elks Club, it's the Rotary Club, some of those we could get some valuable input from some longtime residents.
Is the Rotary Club still active?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I've been trying to get in touch with them, but okay. Huh. I think that's a good idea, though. How do we actually disseminate the survey? I would imagine as a link.
Yeah,
The Google Docs.
There'll be a link. It'll be on the town's website, on the town's Facebook. If one of you are on the People of Auburn page, distribute it that way would be helpful. I think that would help get the responses up, because I don't know how many people actually look at the town webpage to do surveys. Mentioned at the meetings, there's 3 of you are on other committees, and Auburn Cable. I can ask them to put up something. We can, I would say, have hard copies, but there really isn't a whole lot of not any people really, for the most part, coming into town hall, the library, or anything. Otherwise, I would have distributed some hard copies.
Adam, do you know if the kiosk is still open?
Yes, it is.
Town hall?
Yes.
You can put something there, maybe.
Yeah, we could have hard copies there. It's a good idea.
Is there a conflict of interest I'm not on Facebook any longer, but if one of you has a personal profile, is that unethical to share a link to, say, like a private Auburn group?
Yeah, no, I'm going to put it up on both of the Auburn sites, and I'll put it up on my own Facebook as well, for sure.
Okay.
Thanks, Scott.
Scott has more friends than I do, so that's going to go a lot further.
It's quickly changing, Steve.
Okay. All right. So does that complete all business that we were to address today?
I've got a couple of updates for you that kind of tie into this committee. What does tie in? So the town was recently awarded Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Grant. Some of you are already familiar with this. But part of the grant includes an education piece for the Leesville Pond residents and those abutting properties. It's to try to educate the public about impaired waters and what they can do to help improve it. We're going to be partnering with Worcester also, so we'll be the whole pond. Consultant, Buster O'Neill, that's helping us out put the material together. So that's going to be coming very rapidly. That's a project that has to be done by the end of June, so we've got less than 7 months to wrap it up. So I'll share that more information when it becomes available. I really just kicked this off a couple weeks ago. Also, the demographic information that is in the 2014 plan, I will be updating over the next month or so. The U.S. Census Bureau is releasing a 2019 American Community Survey on Thursday. So I'll have the most up-to-date information available starting later this week. And I already mentioned the 88 plan. I talked to the woman at the state who will be reviewing the plan and said that the transition plan will be fine to use for that piece. And finally, there will be hopefully in the next month or so a kind of a survey. It's not really a survey, but CMRPC is doing a conceptual redesign of Garden Park. There's going to be some kind of public outreach. They have created this kind of tool where you can click on different parts of the park to see what it might look like with different amenities, just to kind of get some input from the public. And I'll be sharing that when it comes out. But hopefully we'll have it in the next month or so. The deadline on that grant is February 28th. So it should provide us some useful information, some kind of different ideas of how to better utilize that park.
And that's by the fire
all.
station? Is that the fire station?
Yes.
Okay.
I know some of the ideas include a bridge connect over the dam connecting the library to the park. Includes the sidewalks actually connecting to the sidewalk. Right now, the pathway inside the park does not connect anything. The accessibility, the rocket, both rockets, the Polaris missile, which is not really historically accurate, but that's besides the point. It's a nice feature. Is rusty, so as well as the historical guarded rocket, which you can't really see from the roadway, but it's pretty rusted out. The geese like to get up on the grass a lot. So there's a lot of, it's kind of messy up there, so hopefully this will kind of set us on the path of improving the look of the park.
So that people can enjoy the look of Reliant Medical.
Right. And it will pair well with Auburn Street being redone, so if we can hopefully source some funds for that in the future, that'd be nice.
The reflections off the water are beautiful.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is that the plan also, or is it a separate item of the Drury Square project to put in the carousel? I don't know, gazebo? Is it a gazebo going in? Or is that just potential?
So that was in some of the plans. I don't know if that's going forward or not. I haven't talked to DPW about that recently. That was supposed to go next to the new Christmas tree, somewhere down there. So I can't say for sure if that's still going to be built or not.
The whole area is kind of a quandary right now because how does the public safety complex, if that goes forward and then the police, the fire station's abandoned, how does that affect what we're doing over there with the park and with Auburn Street? Lot of unknowns there, I think.
Yeah, there's some, yeah, I agree. Whatever happens, we want to make sure do a work that will somehow be not there anymore because if that parcel is sold, I think the town would likely want to keep that parking lot that it owns, but again, that's not my
Yeah,
jurisdiction.
because that the parking lot to the left, right? That's town owned, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. I think those will be discussions that will be held, you know, if the public safety complex goes forward, there'll have to be other things ironed out.
Can I ask one of you, this is just an aside, I had a note here. The former landfill site on Rockdale or Rochdale, is that now developed with the solar field? I know that was approved to be developed, I think, last year. Did that go in there, a 60-acre parcel of solar fields?
That was on the private land, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
On the same
Correct.
side or across the street? There's
Gonna
hills up
quick-
both.
Is it two of them?
I think it was 430 Rochdale Street, so 340.
Oh, 340.
Doesn't the police
Side.
have a shooting range up there?
430. I don't know about the shooting range. It was 430 Rochdale Street. It's on the opposite side of the landfill.
Okay. Okay, that's what I couldn't get information about where the landfill used to be located. And I know that there was a solar field that was put in there, and I see people over there all the time. I don't know if they're mapping out hiking trails as it is over there by the solar fields, or I don't know. I see trucks there all the time. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to adjourn if we're ready.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Do I have to ask if all are in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
All opposed?
Right, next meeting's scheduled for January 4th. I will try to see if Bill Coral is available that night to discuss, answer any questions you may have. He's extremely knowledgeable, as you all know about the town. Is 5:30 still good for everybody?
Yes.
All right,
I may not be at that meeting. I'll try my best. It may be from my phone in a car, though.
okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Have a
Thanks,
good
good
one.
night.
Bye.